Continues to be that deadly conflict in West Asia, the war between Israel and Hamas that has entered the 13th day. The turning point in this war, of course, was the attack at a hospital in Gaza, along the Gaza Strip, where about 500 people lost their lives, and mostly women, children, refugees, people who were taking treatment there, doctors. And this is clearly something that is seen as a turning point in this war. International support is pouring in for Israel. US President Joe Biden was there in Israel. We remember that statement that was issued by the US President. UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak also issued a statement today while he was on the visit. You also have the French President Emmanuel Macron, who's all set to visit Israel and extend his support. Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli Prime Minister, has said that this is going to be a long war and Israel will need all the support that it can gather. Let's listen in to what Israeli Prime Minister and Rishi Sunak earlier said in a joint briefing.
This is not merely our battle, it's the battle of the entire civilized world. It's the battle of Israel, it's the battle of the moderate Arab countries, it's the battle of Western civilization, the battle of the free world, the battle for the future. We have to release the hostages. You have nationals. Understand that, I know you do, that we have their children, babies, women, elderly, Holocaust survivors, and your nationals. And we have to work together in every way possible, and we're doing that, to get them back. 80 years ago, Prime Minister, the civilized world stood with you in your darkest hour. This is our darkest hour. It's the world's darkest hour. We need to stand together, and we want to win. And this is why I value your support.
We absolutely support Israel's right to defend itself in line with international law, to go after Hamas, to take back hostages, deter further incursions, and to strengthen your security for the long term. But I also want to thank you for the support that your government has given to the families of British nationals caught up in this horror, including your efforts to release the hostages, secure their release, and I know that we will continue to cooperate, particularly with regard to the British nationals that are involved. You describe this as Israel's darkest hour. Well, then it's for me to say I'm proud to stand here with you in Israel's darkest hour. As your friend, we will stand with you in solidarity, we will stand with your people, and we also want you to win.
Well, let's also listen in to the Ministry of External Affairs spokesperson Arindam Bagchi as to what he said about Operation Ajay, an operation that continues to get stranded Indians back to the soil. Let's have a look, let's listen.
ऑपरेशन अजय जो चल रहा है उसके तहत करीब 1200 लोग अभी वापस आए हैं 5 फ्लाइटों पर। इसमें करीब 18 इनमें से नेपाली नागरिक भी शामिल हैं। हम सिचुएशन का जायजा ले रहे हैं और आवश्यकता के आधार पर हम फ्लाइट्स और प्लान करेंगे। आपने गाजा के बारे में पूछा था, वहाँ पे पहले करीब 4 लोग थे, अभी एग्जैक्ट नंबर हमारे पास नहीं है, कोऑर्डिनेट कर रहे हैं। और मैंने कहा था करीब 12 या 13 लोग वेस्ट बैंक में थे। गाजा में स्थिति ऐसी है, निकलना थोड़ा मुश्किल है, पर मौका मिले तो अगर वो निकल पाए। कुछ रिपोर्ट्स हैं कि 1-2 निकल भी आए हैं, पर हम इसको गलत खबर मैं नहीं देना चाहूँगा अभी, जब तक कंफर्मेशन नहीं आए। पर इजराइल में अभी जो हमारा चल रहा है तेल अवीव से फ्लाइट्स, वो अभी जैसे मैंने कहा करीब 1200 निकले हैं 5 फ्लाइट्स में, और भी फ्लाइट्स हम प्लान कर रहे हैं। जैसा डिमांड रहेगा उस तरह उसके बेसिस पे।
Well, we also get you this CNN International special report, certain documents, intelligence documents, which have been accessed. These documents belong to the time when the Hamas was planning this attack on the Israeli soil. Take a look at the special report.
CNN has gathered chilling new insights and details on the Hamas assault inside Israel, including disturbing video taken by the attackers themselves as they rampaged through Israeli homes, killing on sight and then being killed. Searches of their dead bodies revealing a trove of highly specific Hamas battle plans, including these detailed maps now shared with CNN by the Israeli government, showing communities near Gaza like Kfar Aza targeted by the attackers. These were the terrifying scenes inside, as Hamas gunmen recorded themselves moving freely through the gardens of Israeli homes. Code Red, the Israeli loudspeaker blares in Hebrew, punctuating the sporadic gunfire. After the attack, Israeli first responders saw bullet holes and bloodstains in room after room, in what looks like a coldly methodical killing spree.
But while hundreds of Israelis were killed, some Israeli communities managed to repel the Hamas gunmen and save lives. At kibbutz Mefalsim, also near Gaza, residents pushed back a Hamas attack and found documents on the bodies of the militants they killed, with disturbing, highly accurate intelligence on their homes.
Including precise numbers of armed guards there. Regional Defence Force, at least 20 residents, one document reads, and 10 soldiers.
They knew basically the size of our security team. They knew about other 3 or 4 entrances to the kibbutz.
It sounds like they knew everything.
They knew everything. Where the generators are. They knew where the armory is. They knew about rural roads around the kibbutz.
Security footage shows how Hamas gunmen killed an Israeli outside the kibbutz gates before being repelled. Even with detailed intelligence on their targets, not every Hamas objective was achieved. Nearby kibbutz Saad wasn't even attacked, although we now have documentary evidence that Hamas intended to inflict the maximum possible human casualties there and to hold hostages. A highly detailed street map found on another Hamas gunman and obtained by CNN shows individual buildings in Saad identified and assessed for their military value. The communal kitchen, for example, is described as the main place suitable for holding hostages. Inside the guard room, the soldiers must be neutralized, the Hamas instructions say. While the kibbutz dental clinic is designated a place for first aid for both enemies and friends. Israeli residents of Saad say they also found that level of detail astounding.
Shockingly, the details are very accurate. The map is a map of our kibbutz. It's very accurate. It's horribly accurate.
If they'd have come to your settlement, they would have known exactly where to go, exactly where to cause the most damage.
Yes, and we now see that their goal was to take hostages, including children.
Israeli officials say they found other documents too that advise attackers to kill anyone posing a threat or causing a
Let me cut across to Mr. J.K. Tripathi, who's a former diplomat. He is with us on the show. Mr. Tripathi, good evening. Thank you so much for joining us on The Nation at 5. The war escalating in the West Asia and the manner in which the Western superpowers have aligned and shown their commitment towards Israel. Which way do you really see this going?
Well, I think this will be like this for next a week maximum. And then by that time, because that time Israel would have almost neutralized the Hamas fighters or the Islamic Jihad fighters, because they don't have because these fighters, they don't have any supply of weapons anymore. So and after that, probably Israel will then start house-to-house operation, house-to-house search, and it will take another 10 days or so. But one thing I am sure, that Hamas will not be eradicated totally. It will not be annihilated totally, because history tells us that no terrorist organization had been completely destroyed. Be it Al-Qaeda, or be it Al-Jawahiri, or be it Al-Mujahideen, or anyone. Even in India, you see, in our northeast, there had been so much of terrorist militancy, but it had not been possible to destroy them totally, because what happens is that their sleeper cells remain, and they arise when the time comes, when the opportune time comes to them.
Well, let's hope, sir. As you rightly said, sir, we hope that this de-escalates in the days to come, and in the next 7 to 10 days, there are signs of de-escalation. As of now, there are no signs of de-escalation which are happening, and more importantly, the bombing of a hospital or the manner in which there were strikes at a hospital in Gaza is a turning point in this war. A lot of sympathies that were solely resting earlier with Israel, once again the focus has shifted to the humanitarian crisis which is now brewing in. Let's take you through some pointers. Let's take you through some information about that burnt cars and what looked like a parking lot earlier. This is the hospital strike truth. What Aftermath really reveals. The images tell you the story. These images and these burnt cars, these are parts of the neighborhood buildings which are damaged. So imagine the kind of damage that must have been inflicted upon that hospital. Explosion crater in the courtyard near the hospital, right here. It was an airstrike. Now, windows of nearby building have been shattered and the walls are intact. And these were buildings which were in the vicinity. They've been impacted. Gaza Strip is a very densely populated area. The tiled roof of the nearby buildings have been partially damaged, keeping in mind the extent of damage and the intensity of that strike. Let's also have a look at some ground reports. My colleague Abhishek Jha is on ground zero reporting from the war zone. He gets us his ground report. Have a look.
Behind me, what looks like a haunting place from some movies was actually a place for celebration for hundreds of Israeli people on 7th of October when they were attacked by hundreds of Hamas terrorists coming from Gaza Strip, not very far from here, about 2 kilometers, when they actually breached multiple checkpoints and border areas and entered into these settlements where Israeli people were having that celebration on that day. Hundreds of people were killed over a few hours that the Hamas terrorists were trying to create a carnage around this place. The people were dehumanized, they were tortured, and the terrorists found some unimaginable sadistic pleasure in killing them, but not right away, but torturing them, ensuring that they are most of them die a very painful death. So we have number of visuals, number of footages, videos, photos, which are very disturbing and discomforting, and many of them are not, of the quality that can be broadcast on a national news channel. But we know that there have been hundreds of visuals where people were tortured before being killed or left half dead. This was the scene of a celebration that turned into the most nightmarish moment for hundreds of Israelis that will keep them haunting for years to come. If you could just let us know how this thing unfolded and how Israeli security agencies could not sense what kind of crisis situation you will see this has become because of the sort of failure that Israeli agencies could not sense this major onslaught of terrorism is coming to Israel.
Well, let's start from the fact that on the 7th of October, early morning, we were caught by surprise. We were not well prepared on the front line, and the circumstances are known, all published. We lost many civilians, and unfortunately, as one from the military establishment in the past, I would say that we failed in defending our civilians, which is the main goal of any military establishment. First of all, to push out all those terrorists from our borders, from our land, and from then on, we are preparing ground attack.
How are you going to differentiate between the terrorist and the civilian casualties? Because I think that is one of the reasons the world's attention is quickly shifting to the crisis, humanitarian crisis.
The whole idea is to push back the civilians out of the northern part of Gaza Strip, and they already did. And then it will enable us to act freely.
Well, this is a big update which is coming in from that conflict between Israel and Hamas. It is reported that there is yet another blast in the Gaza Strip that has been reported, and an entire block of the Khan Yunis hospital has been destroyed. 13 people are dead. That's the latest bit of information that we are getting right now. The humanitarian crisis that continues to unfold in the Gaza Strip has been a cause of concern for across the world, whether it's the World Health Organization, whether it's the United Nations. India, with its firm support to Israel, has also said that despite its support, one needs to look at the humanitarian crisis which is unfolding. Let me see if Abhishek is with us on the broadcast. He's in Israel right now. He's been reporting on this war. Abhishek, tell us more about this blast.
Well, Arusha, this is yet another attack on its civilian infrastructure. More than a dozen civilian infrastructure has been under attack of Israeli forces in the last 10 days or so, ever since the counteroffensive has begun. And more than that, I mean, this is the attack on hospital comes especially at a time when Israel is already being criticized or held accountable by certain countries of attack on a hospital in Gaza Strip, which killed about 500 people. So this humanitarian crisis that is again evolving in Gaza has become now a center point of the discussion around the world. Israeli counteroffensive, though, it is trying to target Hamas, associates Hamas terrorists. But the point is they are so well embedded and so mixed up with the population that it is really difficult to separate the terrorists from the civilian. And this is the pretext on which Israel continues its attack on such buildings, where apparently they're trying to, target Hamas terrorists who are hiding in these civilian infrastructure buildings, and they are also trying to, make human or the civilian people in Gaza Strip as their shield. So this is what Israeli forces have been saying, that the casualties of civilians which has happened, which is happening right now every day, is because most of the time Hamas militants are trying to put humans or civilians as a shield to avoid any upcoming attack from the Israeli counteroffensive.
Abhishek, the key thing that we've been reporting since morning, and it was prevalent in the reports that you'd also sent, that there is a hostage-like situation which is there in different parts of Gaza. A lot of Israelis have been held hostage by Hamas, and Israel has said that it's going to allow unfettered access to any kind of aid coming in once all the hostages are free. That's part one. Secondly, the attacks that we're talking about, when there was this attack at a hospital in Gaza which claimed more than 500 lives, we saw the kind of blame game that panned out between Israel and Hamas, and I believe even after this attack, a similar sort of situation will unfold. In this humanitarian crisis, a war is one thing, and the humanitarian crisis, of course, is the biggest casualty of it. Can there international organizations like United Nations and WHO, can they play any kind of decisive role to avert situations like these?
In fact, Arusha, whatever little humanitarian aid is reaching to the people of Gaza right now is being assisted and coordinated by these agencies of United Nations only, and some NGOs who have been working in that sector, in that area. Even now, when we have seen Russian IL-17 aircraft taking a lot of humanitarian tons of medical aid, food, supplies, water, and that will be going through the Egyptian border to the Gaza Strip through the Red Crescent organization. So these NGOs and these international organizations are the only hope for the people of Gaza right now, because the supplies of essential stuff is stopped at the Gaza border from the Israeli side. They don't have other option but the Egyptian border, and that border is also kind of, there has been a lot of back and forth because Israelis did not want that to open, and Egyptian side also did not want that to open. On the counteroffensive side, Israelis are really in a tight spot, because if they go all out in the war and territorial war, they may inflict a lot more casualties, because those Hamas terrorists are well trenched there, and the street fights could bring in more casualty for Israeli soldiers, and that is what Israelis don't want. And so the entire game there is very in a complicated situation, where the fight against terrorism is also justified, but at the same time, the humanitarian crisis that is evolving in Gaza is something that is also very essential to be addressed.
Absolutely. Abhishek, can I please request you to stay with us on the broadcast? I'd like to take this conversation forward with you, but I want to include Mr. Ashok Sajjanar, the former diplomat in this conversation. Mr. Sajjanar, good evening. Good to have you on the show. It's not great news coming in from the Gaza Strip. Yet another hospital has been a point of attack and a strike. We don't know who did it. Of course, Israel is going to blame Hamas and Hamas will blame Israel. But the humanitarian crisis is only escalating. It is confirmed that about 13 people are dead and the death toll can only go up, sir.
Yeah, that's right. I think it was really expected that once this war on the Gaza starts, that there are going to be a number of civilian casualties. And now, of course, here what we see, first with the first hospital attack, and now this is the second one that has come. I think as far as the first hospital attack is concerned, it is by and large certain that it has not been done by Israel. It might have been sort of, done unintentionally by, maybe a misfire of a rocket that might have taken place by the Islamic Jihad or the Hamas. And that is what seems to have happened there, because really, what the Hamas is expected to say and what it has been saying is that Israel has done it, but, of course, the Arab street is very credulous as far as these allegations are concerned. They will believe. They will sort of, continue to demonstrate and at times even get violent in front of the Israeli and the U.S. embassies. Now, the second attack is concerned, we have to see how, because there have to be some facts and evidence. Of course, Hamas will jump to the conclusion without any facts. So Israel will really have to see. But, of course, now we are seeing increasingly it has its back to the wall, and more of such attacks take place, more the international pressure, the global pressure on Israel is going to increase. And we've seen that as far as the attacks, although the land incursion, the land invasion has not taken place, has not started as yet. It's only the airstrikes that are taking place. So both as far as these attacks and the deaths that are concerned, the casualties that are concerned on the ground of the ordinary civilians, and also on the southern Rafah crossing, because Israel has also very categorically stated that no supplies will be able to come from there unless we get the hostages out. That seems to be the quid pro quo. That seems to be the, what they are demanding of Hamas to do. And Hamas, of course, it serves their purpose, because the more the Gazan people suffer, the more the international community will, apply greater pressure on Israel. So I think it's a catch-22 situation, in fact, for Israel. So they'll really have to see how to take it forward.
Mr. Sajjanar, thank you so much for joining us. My colleague Abhishek Jha also getting us all the reports. Let's also cut across to the special report. As we were talking earlier, the experts were pointing out how aid through the Rafah border has been allowed. It's a call that Israel and Egypt have taken. Before we play out that report, I want to go for one more quick question to Abhishek Jha. He's back with us on the broadcast. Abhishek, most of the experts pointing out to the escalating humanitarian crisis, and I believe that's going to dominate the discourse in the days to come. Israel indeed has a right to defend itself like any other nation, and strongly so, and the destruction of Hamas is something that most of the Western superpowers have supported Israel in their demand and in their conviction. But when it comes to the humanitarian aid, when it comes to the blockade that we are witnessing along the Gaza Strip, have you seen any kind of softening of position from the side of Israelis? And if not, is that something which is likely to happen?
Well, Anisha, it is sad to see that, but when you walk across the streets of Israel and other places, what you would see people's rage and their anger, their frustration about the entire atrocities and carnage that the terrorists did about 10 days ago in the most of the southern towns of Gaza. All the citizens, there were barrage of rockets that were fired. Innocent people were killed. About 1,300 Israelis and 200 of them soldiers. Also, it was not just a killing in one rocket fire. It was a 10-hour torture, sadistic pleasure that these militants took while killing each of them with the most heinous way that one can imagine. So, that is a palpable tension. That's the kind of frustration that the people in Israel has, and that is also putting a lot of pressure on the Israeli government that they should go all out and confront whatever is awaiting there as in form of terrorists or any opposition of Israel in Gaza, because they know that the Gaza Strip is the whole pulled out of militant. The world, the entire world community is trying to bring the temperature down, but it will not be as easy because the people of Israel are not going to be, relaxed. They are not going to be happy unless until the outcome of this entire tragedy is given to them something in sort of, some major offensive or major destruction of Hamas network. And that is not happening right now until and this is what the Israeli people have been asking. So, I mean, there is a pain, there is an anger, and there is a real frustration among the Israeli people, and the pressure on the Israeli government is unprecedented at this hour of time.
Absolutely. Abhishek, thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast. Thank you for putting this into perspective. We'd keep coming back to you for your ground reports and your reportage from the war-ridden zone. Let me cut across to some breaking bit of developments which are coming in. Let's cut across to this latest piece of information as the Israel-Hamas war rages on. Top government sources tell CNN News 18 that India is in regular touch with its counterparts in Middle East and Europe, and the larger focus for India right now is to ensure that it can put in its effort and its bit into ensuring regional peace. India has already asserted that humanitarian crisis is something that we are concerned about, and an NSA level visit may happen very soon. That's the latest bit of information coming in. Our managing editor Anand Narasimhan with us on the broadcast to give us more perspective on this. Anand, what kind of efforts India can make?
Well, I think the biggest effort that we can make is that we can be very clear that as a country we not only stand in solidarity with the Israeli people, because Israel as a nation has been attacked by a terrorist outfit, but we are also saying that we are drawing a distinction between Hamas as a terror outfit and the entire Palestine state. So India has never said that we do not recognize the need for a Palestinian state. There is a two-state aspect, and there are two entities here, Israel and Palestine. But the fight is Israel versus Hamas. So India's support to Israel is unconditional. The fight against terror is going to be waged. But more importantly, we are going to engage with the entire friends of ours like the Saudi, the UAE, Egypt, and be in constant touch with them to engage with them and to explain to them what India's position is, what's required. Because let's not forget, 14 to 15% of our population, nearly 25-26 crores of our population is a Muslim population, which also understands that there is an underlying cause which many people feel very strongly about, that is the Palestinian cause. But to conflate both Palestine and Hamas is a mistake, and that's where I think the engagement is happening at a security level. There is a close watch on whether or not there are chances of escalation and things spilling over into neighboring regions and beyond just the Gaza Strip, and that is something nobody wants. The Saudis have been very guarded, but they've been engaged. They're great friends with Bharat, and that's why the NSA level engagements are happening, and we're hoping that even the Saudi NSA will be in India very soon, because these nations hold a clout on respective Islamic nations in that entire region, not just the Middle East, but also a lot of nations in Africa, where Egypt holds a lot of sway. And Egypt in the past has been in conflict with Israel. So, but they have a peace treaty going on there. So, what is a situation where victims are victims, innocents dying on either side is going to hurt anybody? So, how can that be avoided? How can collateral damage be minimized? And also accountability be fixed for false propaganda and for also the Hamas firing rockets on its own people. As we saw what happened at the hospital, and if we were to go by what the IDF claims, nearly 450 rockets out of the 11,000 rockets that have been fired towards Israel have actually landed in the Gaza Strip itself. So who's going to hold them accountable, and who's going to point fingers and de-link Hamas with the overall Palestinian cause? Because the Hamas's doctrine is different from what the PLO and the Palestinian doctrine is, and that's where the delinking is, because Hamas doesn't identify with what the PLO actually stated, and the Palestinian government, Palestinian state talks about peaceful struggle, peaceful protest and conversation and a two-state aspect, whereas Hamas's doctrine says we need to wipe out all Jews. So there are two different aspects there, and I think India's position is clear on that front.
One more question before we move on to another bit of information. Whether it was the Russia-Ukraine war or whether it's the present conflict in West Asia, India has had a very nuanced position that, look, we might support one country or another, but the humanitarian cause is something that we are always concerned about. And even when that attack happened at a Gaza hospital, the Prime Minister tweeted about it and said humanitarian concerns continue to dominate the minds of the Indians. And when it comes to ensuring regional stability, do you believe India can more proactively pitch into that cause?
Well, that depends if these nations want India to intervene. As of now, what happens is the narrative is going to be between the Arab world and the
And
West
Israel.
and Israel
Yeah.
and the Zionist world.
Yeah.
So somewhere there will be this entire underlying sentiment, because the Arab world will say that we have to stand with our Palestinian friends because we identify with them. Even there is a religious connect and there is also an ethnic connect there. On the other hand, nobody wants victims to die. So be it the kibbutz community within Israel and what happened in the south of Israel, or with the innocents who have died in the Gaza Strip caught between this crossfire. It hurts. It hurts anybody, be it in Ukraine or be it in Russia. Wherever innocents die, they have no way to go. The larger question is, will India play a role in asking the Arab nations to open their doors to the Palestinian refugees rather than forcing them towards Europe or some other places? Why are the neighboring Arab nations not opening their doors and saying Palestinians are welcome? If you so stand in solidarity with the Palestinians, why are you telling them that this territory is not for us? You cannot come into my country, go somewhere else. Why is Egypt not opening its doors? Why is Jordan or Lebanon, and why aren't these nations, Syria, not saying that no, you can come in and seek refuge here? Iran, Iraq, why aren't they saying you come to our place? Why are they saying that you go elsewhere but don't come to our place?
That has been a historical criticism.
But I stand in solidarity with you. So these are aspects, diplomatic aspects, which now have to be asked. And whether or not India is able to prevail even on the Saudis to say, listen, we will open our doors if you want to come out. That's the big story. But we'll have to watch, because in the past, be it in the case of Rohingyas, be it in the case of Baloch, be it in the case of the Syrian cause, at all places, the Arab world, the OIC, 56 Committee of 56 Nations, has not opened its doors and shown its large heart when it expresses this solidarity. So you're looking at a humanitarian crisis, you're making a hue and cry about it, but you're saying, sorry, my doors are not open.
I can't do anything about it. Anand, please stay with us on the broadcast. There is some more latest news which is coming in, and this is about how the Chinese government has refused to carry out any kind of repatriation mission like Operation Ajay that has been carried out by the government of India. The Chinese nationals who are there in Israel right now and who are stranded have been told to take commercial flights and come back to the country. Various nationals of Chinese origin who are stuck there have to pay these skyrocketing fares, about $800 US dollars to about $1,200 US dollars if they want to come back to India. And this apathy towards its own citizens is something that needs to be talked about. Let me cut across to Anand once again. Anand, the Chinese government has not carried out an operation like Operation Ajay, like the Indian government has. How should we understand that? And more importantly, what does it tell us about the relationship between the Chinese nationals, the population, and the government of the regime there?
Well, we are doing Operation Ajay. Our ministers are waiting and welcoming each of the people, Indians who want to come back home. And there are flights with 2 sets of pilots and staff which are there to bring them back safe. That's who we are as Bharat. And if the Chinese state does not even bother and say that you pay your fare and we'll try and get you flights, but you got to pay your way out, and that's something which we are given to understand. Reports suggest some other nations also suggested to their people that we will help you out, but then you'll have to pay your bills. Well, that reflects on how much the state actually cares for its people and what the might of so-called China is, or the CCP is. And it's surprising because the number of people who are there, they've all gone there because they are plying their wares and they're representing China and the People's Republic of China. And if the Chinese state turns around and says that's the state of affairs about how much a state cares for its people, and it doesn't. So in our case, we can only say Bharat cares, China doesn't. And a lot of the Chinese people will turn around and say, all right, is there a cheaper way out of this country, and can I make my way, or do I really want to then go back, or rather stay put in Israel? So and we'll see how things are. Somewhere I think the assessment for the Chinese state is that these people don't matter. If they're living in Israel, let them live, and they've gone of their own will. We don't want them back. If they want to come back, let them find their way back. That seems to be the perhaps apathetic attitude of the...
It seems like that the Chinese nationalism is only there in the maps of China and not so much for its citizens. Thank you, Anand, for joining us on the broadcast and sharing that perspective. We'll continue tracking all the stories here on The Nation at 5. For now, slipping into a very short break. Stay tuned, stay with us.
Warning of a rocket attack.
Hundreds of people were killed.
गाजा बॉर्डर झिरौट की पहली बार हम यहाँ पहुँचे हम. Does Israel want a wider war? Does this derail all of that?
How do you see the Indian government stand as of now?
What we have witnessed in Israel as part of these Hamas attacks.
from?
I understand you.
My accent sounds good because I'm Russian, but איך אומרים, התעוררתי רק עכשיו? Woke up, just now. He just woke up.
Welcome back, and let's cut across to some latest news coming in. These are raids which are conducted by the Central Bureau of Investigation after complaints from leading companies like Microsoft, Amazon against financial irregularities and impersonification that was happening at different levels. About 76 locations have been raided, and these are locations in different parts of the country, including Bihar, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, Madhya Pradesh. Different areas and states have been covered. Operation Chakra Part 2. That's what my colleague Arunima is telling us through this exclusive information coming in right now. Arunima, over to you. Give us more details.
This was a case, that was lodged by companies like Microsoft and Amazon. There were 5 different complaints that reached CBI, one by the Financial Intelligence Unit as well. What was the complaint? That there were people who were impersonating as technicians from these companies and defrauding people. The fraud amount is being estimated roughly at about 100 crores. So in connection with these 5 complaints, an operation was launched. This operation was called Chakra 2 by CBI, and they raided 76 locations across various states. So these are states like Karnataka, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Haryana, Himachal Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Bengal. So all of these states were raided, 76 locations, and there have been recovery of digital devices. Hard disks have been seized, laptops have been seized. Now begins the scrutiny of these digital devices to find out who were the people involved, what was the modus operandi, and if the extent of the scam, which is being estimated at 100 crores, could be more.
Absolutely. Thank you, Arunima, for getting us all the details and that information here on The Nation at 5. About 76 locations that have been raided by the CBI, and more could be so. As she pointed out, this was a case that was registered by Amazon, Microsoft and various other leading organizations. We continue tracking that story and much more here on The Nation at 5. For now, slipping into a very short break.
Brought to you by
Well, getting you some latest information after the Vande Bharat trains and also the Amrit Bharat railway stations. Now the RRTS train will be known as Namo Bharat. The rapid rail transit system is an ambitious infrastructure project which is being developed in the Delhi NCR region and across the north of the country. This is a flagship project under this present government and has taken a lot of investment and the bureaucratic and political will as well. Payal will tell us more about it. Payal, over to you. Give us more details. We'll try and connect with Payal, but as I earlier said, rapid rail transit system which connects the neighbouring cities like Meerut. You also have cities like Ghaziabad, Panipat, Sonipat. There would be a rapid rail which will reduce the distance of the national capital from these neighbouring towns. Well, the urban planning centres, the RRTS research wing says that in the coming few years, Delhi is going to expand rapidly. And there would be a lot of people from these neighbouring areas, Panipat, Sonipat, parts in Uttar Pradesh, Western UP, who would want to travel to Delhi for work purposes. Alwar in Rajasthan is another city which is being looked at under RRTS. Now, it's going to be called Namo project. That's what it's going to be named as we talk about it. Namo Bharat. That's what this project is going to be called. Whether it's going to invoke some kind of controversy or it will be accepted by everyone is a wait and watch. But RRTS is an ambitious project. It's an ambitious infrastructure project. It has been given a special allocation by the central government and it continues to enjoy the support of the central government, the Delhi government, including the state governments. There is extensive planning under RRTS that has been done by the state government center and also by the Delhi government, taking all of them together on the board. It's a long-term project that we are looking at. Like the Delhi Metro, there would be certain phases that would be developed in the first go, and in the years to come, different phases of this infra project are going to be developed. But when it develops, it will make the north of the country, Delhi with its heart and at the center, as one of the buzzing areas, as one of the buzzing centers of trade, economy and commerce, and you'd have a lot of individuals traveling. Anindya Banerjee is joining us on the broadcast. Anindya, RRTS, a flagship project, a very ambitious one. It will be called Namo Bharat.
Well, absolutely, Anusha. Top sources within the government of India have confirmed to CNN News 18 that RRTS trains will be now known as Namo Bharat. What remains to be seen how the opposition reacts, because you know Namo is as a name connotes as the abbreviation of Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister of India. So how the opposition will react will be very interesting to see. But yes, we can confirm at this point of time to our viewers that RRTS trains will be henceforth known as Namo Bharat.
It will be known as Namo Bharat. Thank you so much, Anindya, for getting us all that perspective and all that information. Let's move on and get you some more ground reports. Chhattisgarh is one of the 5 key states that goes to polls in the next 2 months. It is also one of the states that will poll in 2 phases, primarily because a lot of areas are Naxal dominated. There are various districts, about 20 districts, which are going to be part of this exercise for the first time. Arunima, my colleague, who has reported from this region multiple times earlier as well, traveled to these hinterlands, to this area to get us a sense. Have a look at this ground report.
There is intelligence that there could be an IED somewhere around this road. This is a blacktop road. So the IED could be in a foxhole on the sides of the road. That strategy has been adopted by Naxals earlier also. So what you see is, deep, metal detectors there trying to look for where, okay, there's the signal. There seems to be some beeping that suggests that there could be some kind of an explosive which is there. I think the canine squad is coming in next. The rest of the party here has just taken shelter so that the impact of the explosion is not felt by them. The canine squad is now being pressed into service. Let's see if we detect something. Yes, the canine sits down, which means there is confirmation that there could be some explosive here. Next up, the bomb detection squad, the BDS, will get into action, and we'll just step back because they need to really, the BDS needs time and space. So I'll request Vijay Ravinder to just come back, Ravinder, so that the BDS can do its work. Essentially, what they will now do is that they have managed to detect the explosive, and now the next part will be for the BDS to trigger an explosion.
So the IED has been detected, that they have carried out checks for secondary IEDs as well, which basically means okay, now there is announcement that the main IED is also being detected and it is being blasted off. You can hear the whistle there. Any moment now, that ID which was detected will be triggered off. And let's just pause. So those are warning sounds that we hear before the IED is triggered, and even the canine squad, you can hear the barks there. The IED is being triggered off in the last couple of weeks. That was the IED which has just been exploded by the CRPF team, which had detected the IED. They carried out checks for the secondary IED as well. The canine squad was put in place, and finally that explosive device has been set off. So this was a kind of situation which the paramilitary forces here in Chhattisgarh, in Sukhma, Bijapur, Dantewada, Bastar, they face every third day, every fourth day, because IEDs are the favorite weapons of CPI Maoists, and roads are often their favorite targets.
Well, that's special report up on our website as well. Let's have a quick check of some key stories from across the country.
Hello, Moto. Motorola, India's best 5G smartphone brand.
I will not be on air now. A special update from the entertainment world. Telugu superstar Junior NTR has joined the prestigious ranks of the Academy Actor branch after his film RRR made history at Oscars earlier this year. The global superstar won the Academy Award for Best Original Song Natu Natu. Joining him in this honour are actors Ke Hui Kwan, Marsha Stephanie Blake, Kerry Cordon and Rosa Salazar. 23 candidates have submitted their nomination for the upcoming polls in Mizoram. Among them, 12 are party candidates, which include Deputy Chief Minister Tuan Luia. The ruling MNF party is leading with the highest number of nominations so far. 4 independent candidates, 7 Congress members have also filed in. The deadline for nomination filing is on the 29th of October. In a shocking incident, a woman was found dead post being hit by a car that lost control and rode a footpath in Mangalore. She was accompanied by 4 others who are severely injured and have been hospitalized. Post the accident, the driver fled the spot but eventually surrendered to the police. The counter-intelligence unit in Kashmir was conducting raids at various locations in the valley as part of the ongoing investigation into the terror case. Remember, the intelligence team along with the border forces have been on a constant alert, especially post the Kokarnag operation in Anantnag. A 4th-year student of IIT Kharagpur was found hanging in his hostel room yesterday. A probe launched by the team of the police is currently underway. The deceased student father has expressed his grief and questioned the reason behind the elevated stress amongst the students in IIT, pushing them to take such extreme measures. This isn't the first time that an IIT student has died due to suicide. All right, with that, it's a wrap on this edition of The Nation at 5. Thank you so much for watching. Plain Speak up next.
.6 p.m. Saying it like it is. Without fear or favor. Plain Speak. 7 p.m. When the facts speak for themselves. Just like that. The hard facts. 8 p.m. Where India comes first. Always. The right stand. 9 p.m. Where the big stories are simplified. Bite by bite. Prostax. 10 p.m. Worldview. Indian Insight. Vantage. News 18 Prime. Weeknights 6 to 11.
Welcome everyone. Thanks a lot for staying with us. You're watching Plain Speak with me, Shivani Gupta. Amidst the Israel-Palestine conflict, a political war is also on in India, with Modi government's stand being debated. Just after the October 7 attacks by Hamas in Israel, the Indian government had issued an official statement which condemned the terror attack and extended support to Israel. This move has now once again irked the opposition parties, especially the INDIA bloc. DMK's controversial parliamentarian A. Raja stated that Palestine is an oppressed nation and supporting them was the right thing to do. While addressing a gathering